The sharp buzz of my phone jolted me awake at 6:45 a.m., the screen glowing with an email notification that pierced the early morning stillness. The subject line read, "Urgent. Joint account termination request client priority." I squinted at the words, rubbing sleep from my eyes, and felt a slow, unexpected smile tug at my lips as I opened the message. It was from Daniel Grayson, my soon-to-be ex-husband, addressed to First Horizon Bank's downtown branch with a curt demand. Close the joint account immediately. No delays. His tone dripped with the smug authority I'd come to know too well over the past 15 years, a petty jab meant to remind me of my supposed dependence on him. He thought he was cutting me off, teaching me a lesson about financial responsibility. Little did he know that in less than 24 hours, I'd be stepping into First Horizon's gleaming corporate headquarters as their new chief operating officer for the Eastern Division, overseeing every branch from Virginia to Maine, including the one where he just lobbed his spiteful little grenade. I leaned back against the headboard of my temporary loft apartment, the city skyline stretching out beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. The morning sun painted the room in soft gold, catching the crisp lines of my charcoal Armani suit hanging on the closet door, a quiet indulgence I'd treated myself to after signing the contract with First Horizon 6 weeks ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. While Daniel was likely sipping his overpriced espresso in his corner office at the downtown branch, congratulating himself on outmaneuvering me, I was preparing to become his boss's boss's boss. My phone buzzed again, an email from Rachel Kim, First Horizon's head of HR. "Everything's set for tomorrow, Elena. The board's thrilled to have you. Reminder: your role stays under wraps until the 10 a.m. announcement. See you at 8 sharp." I slid out of bed, the hardwood cool against my bare feet, and caught my reflection in the full-length mirror. The woman staring back at me, Elena Harper, 42, with sharp green eyes and a cascade of dark hair pulled into a sleek ponytail, was a far cry from the nervous teller Daniel had met all those years ago. Back then I'd been 27, fresh out of college, working the counter at a small credit union in Richmond. Daniel, already a rising star in branch management, had swept in with his tailored suits and easy charm, promising to show me the ropes of a world he claimed I'd never navigate alone. "Banking's a man's game, Ellie," he'd said over candlelit dinners in those early days, his voice smooth as velvet, his smile equal parts alluring and patronizing. "Stick to the small stuff, leave the big plays to me." That line had stuck with me, a splinter under my skin. He hadn't meant it as a challenge, but I'd taken it as one. While he climbed the corporate ladder, I'd spent my nights earning an MBA in financial systems and data analytics, pouring every ounce of frustration into textbooks and late-night study sessions. Every time he brushed off my ambitions as adorable or a nice hobby, I doubled down, building a career he couldn't see through his own arrogance. Now, as I adjusted the collar of my silk blouse and slipped into my heels, I felt the weight of my new security badge in my purse. Elena Harper, Executive Leadership Team, its vague title a deliberate tease ordered by First Horizon's CEO, Marcus Everett, who'd recruited me after my turnaround of 2 struggling mid-Atlantic banks. My phone pinged again, this time a text from my younger sister, Sophie. "Did he really try to close the account? What a jackass." I typed back quickly, "Yep. Divorce papers last month weren't enough, still flexing. Too bad he doesn't know what's coming." Sophie's reply was instant. "Oh, he's gonna choke on that espresso when he finds out. Can't wait to hear how this plays out." I smirked, grabbing my leather satchel and keys. The clock read 7:30 a.m., plenty of time to beat the morning rush and get to headquarters early. A habit Daniel had always mocked. "Banking runs on its own clock, Ellie," he'd say, leaning back in his chair with that infuriating grin. "Make them wait, it's how you show who's in charge." Today he'd learned that punctuality wasn't about weakness. It was about preparation. As I locked the door behind me, I couldn't shake a fleeting pang of regret. When I'd accepted this job, I'd imagined telling Daniel over a quiet dinner, hoping he'd finally see me as his equal. Instead, I'd come home 3 weeks ago to find him at our dining table, divorce papers neatly stacked beside a glass of bourbon, his voice cold as he listed my failures: too many late nights, too many trips, too little attention to his career. The irony was almost laughable. The drive to First Horizon's headquarters was smooth, the glass tower rising like a beacon against the graying sky. I pulled into my reserved parking spot, Executive Management, etched in bold letters on the sign, and stepped out, smoothing my suit. Somewhere in that building, Daniel was probably starting his day, oblivious to the seismic shift about to hit him. My phone buzzed one last time before I silenced it. An email from Tarangwin, my soon-to-be deputy COO, confirming that all branch managers would be dialed into the 10 a.m. video conference. Proceed as planned? She asked. No changes, I replied, slipping the device into my pocket. The security guard at the executive entrance nodded as I approached. Morning, MS. Harper. Teams gathering on 52 private elevators ready. I stepped inside, the doors sliding shut with a soft hiss, and watched the numbers climb. The badge in my purse felt heavier with every floor, a quiet promise of the reckoning to come. The 52nd floor hummed with understated energy as I stepped out, the glass-walled conference room already filling with department heads and senior execs. Tara greeted me with a tablet in hand, her dark eyes sharp with anticipation. Elena, I've got the presentation locked down, your digital overhaul plan, timelines, everything. Want a quick run-through? I took the tablet, scanning the slides. She'd nailed it. A detailed roadmap for dragging First Horizon into the digital age, complete with new customer safeguards I'd designed after years of watching banks exploit outdated systems. Looks perfect, Tara. And the video links. Test it and live, she confirmed. Every branch manager's on the hook, including downtown. Her slight emphasis on downtown told me she'd already connected the dots about Daniel's stunt. The room buzzed as more execs filed in, their curious glances lingering on me. My temporary badge marked me as an outsider, an unknown quantity, and I let them wonder. Through the glass I spotted Victor Alvarez, head of retail banking, arguing with Jenna Brooks from compliance. The new fraud flags are tripping over themselves, Victor was saying, his voice carrying. Got a branch manager this morning trying to axe a joint account solo system, caught it in 10 seconds flat. I kept my face neutral, but inside I was grinning. The protocols I'd built still in beta were already doing their job, and Daniel's tantrum was the perfect test case. A young assistant tapped my arm. MS. Harper, Mr. Everett wants a word before we start. I followed her to the CEO's office, a sprawling corner suite with a view that stretched to the horizon. Marcus Everett rose from his desk, all silver hair and quiet command, extending a hand. Elena, you ready to shake things up? More than ready, I said, shaking his hand firmly. Though the timing's gotten interesting. He raised an eyebrow. Oh, let's just say a certain downtown manager's going to find today's news a little personal. Marcus's eyes twinkled with understanding. The account flag this morning, Grayson, right? Any relation? Ex-husband as of next month, I said coolly. He's about to get a crash course in ethics and humility. Marcus chuckled, leaning against his desk. When we hired you, it was for your work on the Coastal Union merger, turning that mess into a digital gold mine. But this is next-level composure. I smiled, thinking back to that merger, me first big win after breaking free of Daniel's shadow. Banking's about trust, Marcus. Sometimes that means rewriting the rules from the ground up. He gestured to the wall of monitors behind him, where branch feeds were flickering to life. Let's give them something to talk about then. Back in the conference room, the executive team was fully assembled, 20 of First Horizon's sharpest minds, all eyeing me with growing curiosity. Through the video wall, I saw branch managers logging in, their faces a grid of muted anticipation. Daniels popped up near the center, his jaw tight as he adjusted his tie, clearly annoyed at being pulled from his morning routine. Tara slid a folder in front of me, containing my official appointment letter, signed by the board. In minutes, it had hit every inbox in the company, including his. 2 minutes, Rachel called out, her voice cutting through the low hum of chatter. I flipped through my notes one last time, the presentation outlining not just my new role but the sweeping changes I'd bring. Digital upgrades, fraud prevention, customer-first policies Daniel had once laughed off as overkill. My phone buzzed, another alert about his account closure request, now flagged for potential coercive intent. Perfect timing. Marcus took the podium, his presence silencing the room. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. As you know, First Horizon's been hunting for someone to lead our next chapter, a digital transformation with ethics at its core. I straightened in my seat, feeling the weight of every gaze. I'm thrilled to introduce our new Chief Operating Officer for the Eastern Division, Elena Harper. I stood, shedding my temporary badge as Rachel handed me my official credentials. The room erupted in murmurs, a mix of surprise and approval. But my eyes were locked on the video feed, on Daniel's face as it shifted from boredom to disbelief to a slow dawning panic. His coffee mug slipped from his hand, the thud echoing through his mic. "Thank you, Marcus," I began, my voice calm and clear. "I'm honored to step into this role and lead First Horizon into a new era. Some of you might have already seen our beta systems at work like this morning. When we flagged a suspicious account closure, I clicked to the first slide, showing the new fraud detection framework. As of 6 a.m., we've rolled out enhanced protections to stop unilateral actions that could harm customers, like attempts to close joint accounts without consent." Daniel's face blanched, his eyes darting to his phone, no doubt seeing the rejection notice I knew had just landed. "This is step 1, I continued, moving through the slides with ease. "Over the next 6 months, we'll launch a full digital overhaul, better security, smarter services, and a zero-tolerance policy for ethical breaches." The execs were scribbling notes, nodding along. Through the feeds, most branch managers mirrored them except Daniel, who sat rigid, his tie askew. Jenna from compliance raised a hand. "Elena, that flag this morning, is it tied to these new controls?" "Great question," I said, clicking to a case study slide. At 6:45 a.m., a branch manager tried to terminate a joint account without proper sign-off. The old system would have let it slide. The new one caught it, protecting the co-holder. "It's a live example of why we're doing this." Daniel's hand shot up, his voice cracking through the feed. "There's got to be a mistake. Surely managers need flexibility for urgent actions?" I met his gaze through the screen, all professional coolness. "No mistake, Mr. Grayson. Our system's built to catch abuse of power. Flexibility doesn't mean bypassing trust. We owe our customers better." A few managers stifled grins. They'd worked under Daniel, knew his style. "Going forward," I added, "all managers will complete mandatory ethics training. We're not just upgrading tech, we're rewriting how we operate." Rachel distributed folders to the execs as digital copies hit the branches. I watched Daniel's eyes widen as he opened his email, the reality sinking in. "I'll visit each branch personally over the next month," I announced, noting his flinch. "We'll assess how these changes roll out and where we can improve." Marcus stepped up beside me. "The board's fully behind Elena's vision. This is about building a bank that leads with integrity." Daniel tugged at his collar, the walls of his world visibly shrinking. "One last thing," I said, my voice ringing out. "All pending account actions are under review with the new guidelines. Our protection team will follow up with affected clients." Daniel's feed showed him slumping slightly, defeated. As the meeting wrapped and feeds blinked off, his lingered, his eyes meeting mine for a fleeting second, a nod of surrender before going dark. "Masterful," Marcus murmured as the room cleared. "You handled the personal and professional like a pro." I gathered my things, smiling faintly. "Banking's more than numbers, Marcus. It's about doing right by people. Sometimes that means tough lessons." Through the glass, I saw my name being etched onto my new office door. Elena Harper, COO, Eastern Division. My phone buzzed. Daniel's request, denied for insufficient co-holder consent. With a note, mediation required. I slipped it back into my purse, the weight of the day settling in. This wasn't about revenge, it was about proving what I'd always known. I didn't need Daniel to succeed. I just needed me. By noon, the news of my appointment had rippled through First Horizon like a tidal wave. My new office, formerly a strategy suite, was a hive of activity, execs popping in with congratulations and questions about the rollout. Through the windows, I could see the downtown branch's red brick facade, where Daniel was no doubt scrambling to process his new reality. Tara appeared, tablet in hand. "Branch responses are coming in. Most are on board with the protocols." Downtown's reply was short. I read Daniel's terse note. "Protocols acknowledged. Will comply." The man who'd once lectured me on assertive communication had gone monosyllabic. Rachel poked her head in next. "Elena, we've got a flood of internal apps for the protection team you're building. Your announcement lit a fire. People want in." I wasn't surprised. My pre-hire research had shown a quiet hunger among staff for stronger customer safeguards, stifled by old-school inertia. Send me the list, I said. Prioritize anyone who's flagged client risks before they get why this matters. My phone buzzed. Sophie. Company email just dropped. How's Danny boy holding up? I typed back, probably choking on his tie. Stay tuned. Marcus swung by, pulling up a dashboard on my wall screen. Check this, customer satisfaction's ticking up already. Just from the announcement. Word spreading we're serious about protection. The data was early but clear. Positive feedback spiked around security and trust. Board's over the moon, he added. But downtown's griping about red tape. Guess who? I laughed. Daniel's predictability is almost comforting. Though I'll bet he's dialing back the attitude now. A knock interrupted us. Jenna from compliance, looking tense. We've got a weird one. Downtown's asking to join the first ethics training cohort. Grayson volunteered as a test case. I blinked, genuinely thrown. The Daniel I knew loathed training, saw it as beneath him. Approve it, I said after a beat. And make sure the session covers this morning's stunt. Let him see it through the customer's lens. As Jenna left, Victor from retail dropped off transcripts from the manager meeting. Most were engaged, asking smart questions except Daniel, silent after his failed interruption. My assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. MS. Harper. Downtown's requesting leadership counseling, sensitive matter. I knew what it was. Daniel covering his ass before HR did it for him. Smart move for once. Set it for tomorrow, I said. Protection team joins us, make it a teaching moment. Then my phone buzzed with an email from Daniel himself. Elena, I apologize for this morning's request. It was unprofessional and against the ethics you outlined. I'd like to discuss aligning my branch with First Horizon's new direction. Regards, Daniel Grayson. It was polished, contrite, nothing like the smug lectures of yesterday. I called Tara over. Schedule a full audit of Downtown's accounts next week. Let's see if his newfound humility holds up. The afternoon blurred into meetings. Media wanted statements. The protection team tweaked protocols based on Daniel's case. And the buzz of change pulsed through the building. Rachel returned with press inquiries piling up. Your appointments, hot news, Forbes, Banking Times, you name it. Book a press conference next week, I said. Give the managers time to digest the ethics training first. Through my window I glimpsed the downtown branch, a symbol of the upheaval I'd sparked. Tara appeared one last time. Protection teams got a draft response to this morning theory, pushing a mandatory ethics workshop for managers, using Grayson's screw-up as the hook. Greenlight it, I said. And send Daniel the materials early. He's about to get cozy with accountability. As dusk settled, my phone pinged with a final update. Joint account status. Review complete. Action maintained. Mediation scheduled. Case added to training. I leaned back, the city lights winking below. Daniel had tried to prove I couldn't survive without him. Instead, he'd handed me the perfect opening to change everything, not just for us, but for First Horizon and beyond. 3 months in, First Horizon was unrecognizable. Customer trust soared 50%, account retention jumped 40%, and our ethics ratings hit the ceiling. From my 52nd floor office, I sipped coffee and reviewed the latest branch stats. Downtown's numbers stood out. Once a complaint hotspot, it now led in protection compliance. Tara strode in, tablet glowing. Ethics cert results are here. Guess who topped the list? I scanned the screen. Daniel Grayson, 97%. The man who'd scoffed at feel-good rules had aced it. He's asking to teach the next session, Tara added, her tone dry. His joint account fiasco spells a hit with trainees. Rachel burst in next, clutching a printout. American Banking Association's quarterly review. First Horizon sets new ethical standard. They're studying us like a playbook. My phone buzzed. Sophie. Saw you on CNN. Danny's preaching customer rights now? Wild. I pulled up the clip. Daniel outside downtown, earnest and polished, touting our protection ethos. Banking's about trust, he told the reporter. Sometimes it takes a fresh lens to see what matters. The turnaround was surreal. My assistant buzzed me. Mr. Grayson's here for the weekly review. He walked in 5 minutes early, another shift carrying a thick binder. Morning, MS. Harper, he said, voice steady. I've got a full breakdown of our protection rollout, plus some ideas to push it further. I took the binder, flipping through meticulous charts and proposals, financial literacy workshops, enhanced fraud alerts. Saw your CNN bit, I said, keeping it neutral. He flushed slightly. Yeah, I've learned a lot lately. That ethics workshop using my mistake as the examplite hit hard. In a good way. Before I could reply, Marcus popped in, flipping on the TV. CNBC's calling us banking's ethical vanguard, hundreds of abuse cases blocked already. He grinned at me. Board's pushing your protocols nationwide, Elena. They want you as National Director of Ethical Operations and a new regional COO. I glanced at Daniel, his eyes widening. I've got a candidate, I said. Someone who's proven he can evolve. Daniel froze, then nodded slowly. I'd have to earn it. No shortcuts this time. Exactly, I said. More training, more proof. You in? Absolutely, he replied, a flicker of resolve in his gaze. After he left, I found a package on my desk, a framed copy of his closure request, with a note. Thanks for turning my misstep into a movement. D. My phone buzzed, Forbes naming me a banking influencer, crediting our overhaul with reshaping trust. Later, as the city glowed below, I reflected on the irony. Daniel's power play had sparked a revolution. And sometimes I thought the best victory isn't settling scores, it's building something better from the ashes. A year later, I stood at First Horizon's Global HQ, now National Director of Ethical Operations, gazing out over a skyline that mirrored our reach. Our protocols had gone international, slashing financial abuse 70% in adopting regions. Daniel, now regional COO, had turned downtown into an ethics training hub, his story a staple in business schools. My phone buzzed. Sophie. Your TED Talk's at 3 million views. From joint account to global reform, damn sis. The talk, Banking Reborn, Ethics as the Future, had struck a chord, just like the Wall Street Journal's headline. First Horizon's ethical wave goes worldwide. Natalia, now international ops head, briefed me. London's up 45% in trust scores. Tokyo's ahead of schedule. Grayson's training's a hit. They call him the ethics evangelist. I smiled at the nickname. William's keynote at the Asia Banking Summit had just aired, his voice steady. Banking's not power, it's protection. My own failure taught me that. The ripple effect was staggering. Trust up, abuse down, a new generation of bankers raised on our model. That night, in my office, I found the framed closure form beside a stack of awards. A customer email popped up. Your rules saved my savings, thank you. That was the real win, not the titles, not the headlines, but the lives we'd touched. Banking had changed, not because I'd beaten Daniel, but because we'd both grown into something bigger. And as the city lights burned bright, I knew this was just the beginning.
If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.